right. Welcome to App Builder Live on this glorious Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you happen to be watching this, either live or on the recording. Thank you for joining us. We have a fantastic packed agenda today. We're going to be talking about UI extensibility in AEM. And we have a bunch of folks joining us today to talk about that, or joining me today to talk about that. One quick thing before we jump into it. This is been a long time coming, but and it's been I think one of the most requested things for App Builder since probably we started. And it involved a bunch of different teams. There's a lot of moving parts involved, and complexity behind the behind the scenes. But possibly by the end of this month or early next month, customers will have the ability to delete projects. And I know that sounds like, why haven't we had deleting projects as a thing from the get-go? It's complicated, but I am happy to say that we finally have, it's in stage now. We're testing it. So it should be probably hopefully a couple of weeks, and we will get it pushed out into production. And then customers who might have you're playing around with App Builder in your IMS org and you create a project called I'm just playing or testing 1, 2, 3 or something like that. You kind of want to clear that out. You will now be able to do that. So great news. Okay, on to UI extensibility. Let me first bring on a couple of folks. So Aditi is product manager on the AEM team, and Karthik, I'll bring you in here too. So Karthik is a product marketing manager on the AEM team. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Ron?
I am well.
Excited to be here.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's just jump into it. Let me share the slides here. And Aditi, you're going to take us through a couple of slides on authoring, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, AEM provides so many ways for our content authors to basically create, manage content in AEM. But today we're going to talk about how do you manage and author modular content in AEM. So, well, first, actually, if you can go back to that slide, I just want to talk a little more about modular content, like what that is, why do we care, right? So modular content is really key when you think about scaling your content strategy. And what we have seen and heard from our customers is that when they adopt a modular content approach, it really enables them to streamline their content management and by enabling their authors to work more efficiently. And so what AEM provides as modular content is basically, via content fragments. And content fragments, and the idea behind modular content is really not creating net new content every time, but being able to reuse previously created content and across multiple digital touch points. And so with content fragments, these are reusable, they're presentation agnostic, they're structured content that content authors can create and then reuse, repurpose across touch points like a web app, mobile app, your smartphone, whatever, right? I mean, so that's kind of the advantage that content fragments provide. So you can use content fragments when you're thinking about product descriptions, blog posts, news articles, and so on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you manage and author these modular content blocks? So if you go to the next slide, Ron, we did a lot of research. We talked to a lot of our users, our customers. Some of our customers, they're managing, more than or almost 500,000 content fragments. And that's not trivial. So we really wanted to understand the persona that's doing this and what are their needs and how do we address their pain points. So the persona here is really that content admin or the producer or the content author, and talking to them provided us with some more insights. We bucketed their needs into 3 areas. So this persona really wants to create content at scale, so high content velocity. They want a great user experience. Like, who doesn't, right? When we think about using kind of apps, and they want ease of use. So content velocity, what that means is you want everything in one place. You don't want to switch, across multiple UIs to get your task done. Great user experiences, obviously it's fast loading. You don't want to sit around for things to load. Quick user transitions, ease of use. No one wants to read like a bunch of literature, enablement material. They want to just get into the UI and get things done. And so what we in the product team, what we have done is we are developing, and we have developed new user interfaces to address these gaps, to address these pain points, and so that we can empower this persona to create, manage, and edit modular content at scale. So if you go to the next slide, just wanted to introduce some of the work that we are doing. So these new content fragment UIs, again, empowering that content author, the marketing practitioner, to create content faster and reuse content efficiently. Now, these UIs are built on a modern tech stack, and that's how we are really providing that fast experience. And we're also thinking about the end user, like giving them more contextual help, like better loading stage, so that they know what's going on and how to kind of take that next action. And the last point here, because of this modern architecture, modern tech stack, we're also unlocking out-of-process extensibility, what this session is about, right? And later on, we're going to talk a lot more in detail. But that's just kind of highlighting some of the benefits that we are providing with these new UIs, and going one level deeper into what exactly these UIs are. If you go to the next slide, the first one is the content fragment admin console. Now, this is generally available to all of our cloud service customers. And this is a new UI that we are providing our content authors and content admins with. And this is where they'll be able to manage like a large number of content fragments very efficiently and easily. We provide things like full text search and different filters so that they can get to the content fragment that they are looking for. Things like getting more insights. So when you think about content fragments, they might be referencing other content fragments. And as you're working on these references, you might want to know, well, where else has this been referenced? So one-click access to information such as the parent references, the language copies, all of that we are making available. Then bulk editing. So think about replacing strings across multiple content fragments. You can do that via this new UI. We're also allowing our users to be able to publish these content fragments to our AEM preview service so that they can preview the experience before they actually publish it to the published tier. And the next user interface is the new content fragment editor on the next slide. So it's not yet available to all our cloud service customers yet, but we have made it available to those that have asked for early access. And the things that we are doing differently here is we are providing autosave. We allow our authors to upload and reference assets in just one step. So that's what inline asset upload is. And again, when you think about content fragments and authoring content fragments, in the editor, you don't have you don't have the context of the final experience. So we are also providing that capability of being able to preview this content fragment in context of the final experience, just making it easier for our content authors to also preview things as they're editing. We talked about out-of-process extensibility, how this modern architecture of these UIs is enabling or unlocking out-of-process extensibility using App Builder. So let's learn a little more about App Builder from Karthik.
All right. Take it away, Karthik.
Thanks, Aditi. So you can see some really cool and exciting tools we're building. But one thing we understand from our customers and many of you and some of you who've been using App Builder, for those of you maybe who have heard of it and not tried it yet, our customers need all the right knobs and levers to extend and configure our solutions and really to maximize their investment with Adobe. And so that's what really App Builder is all about. It's a tool, it's a product built by developers for developers that really help you extend and integrate Adobe Experience Manager. And one of the key things to understand is that this is really our unified extensibility model. It's one model we use across Adobe solutions, pre-integrated with Adobe APIs and events. But really the benefit of using App Builder is time to value. And we want to make it as easy as possible for any developer to create extensions, to create applications, and go from dev console to the command line interface, all the way through the entire process within hours, and to deploy that application. And so time to value is absolutely critical and something that App Builder is really designed to help do. And not only that, we make it out of the box to get started by providing all the tools, templates, common integration points you need, and we can connect easily to third-party systems. So it's not just about connecting and extending with DX solutions, but help connect to the broader stack as well. And so as moving forward in this presentation, we're going to talk a little bit more around how App Builder now is really powering UI extensibility. And for those use cases Didi talked about up front, how it's making it even more flexible for you to embrace AEM as the solution for all your experiences, whether it's headless or headful. So with that, we'll go into UI extensibility.
All right. And actually, before we do that, so I had a question for Aditi. So content fragments seem massively powerful. Are most of our customers using content fragments when they are deploying AEM? Or do you see it more with advanced customers that are, pushing content to multiple surfaces?
Yeah. So, content fragments, and it really depends on the implementation. So if our customers are looking to implement AEM in a headless way, then content fragments is the way to go, right? Because it's presentation agnostic, and it really, the front end application then can consume this content delivered via content fragments, and then kind of render that final experience based on whatever front end application they're working with. So we are seeing a lot more of our customers, using AEM in a headless way, and that's why they're using content fragments more and more. So yeah, I mean, that's the trend that we're seeing with our AEM customers.
Right on. Very cool. Thanks, Aditi. Okay, now we are going to jump into, I'm going to bring up a couple more folks. Corey, product manager on the UI extensibility side, and then Volodymyr, engineering manager. So thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I'm going to rearrange you guys so that you're up higher. Oh, sorry, I dropped you down. I don't know why you just can't. There we go. Much better. Okay. Now, Corey, go ahead, take it away. Tell us about UI extensibility.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. All right, so let's jump into UI extensibility. So we know, next slide, please.
Yeah.
There we go. We know customers need to create these custom UIs to satisfy business requirements. And so for an example, a pharmaceutical company may need to prepare content that is FDA approved. So this requires a custom workflow. So the business traditionally would provide developers these requirements for this approval workflow, and the developers would be required to extend AEM sites to meet these requirements. So today, this flow can certainly be done, but it's done in process. And when we introduce in-process customizations, there's a few challenges that surface because of that. One is the developers can't use a common technology between the front end and back end. It slows down the releases of our cloud cadence as the team has to resolve issues and conflicts based on injecting this code into AEM. If the customer is on-prem or managed on managed services, the customer needs to pay developers to resolve these issues. And it takes much longer to deploy the releases and get all of the good new functionality that's part of that release. Because of all of that stuff, in the end, it increases the total cost of ownership for our customers. And so what we've done is introduced UI extensibility to help with that. And so what is UI extensibility? So UI extensibility leverages App Builder, and App Builder and UI extensibility together is a framework for integrating and creating custom experiences to extend Adobe solutions. And so there's a lot of benefits that that are the outcomes of using this new framework. Kind of the tagline here is that it's out of process. So we're using App Builder and microservices, and we're able to build all of these great experiences outside of AEM, which streamlines the maintenance and the initial implementation. It allows developers to build on this common technology stack, so they don't necessarily need to be experts in core AEM technology. They could use a more common technology stack. It limits the amount of code developers need to write, and it adheres to best practices. So some of this stuff Volodymyr will be showing around, like CLI templates and things like that, that really streamlines the development that's required. And because of all of this, again, it reduces this total cost of ownership for our end customers. So let's talk a little bit about where these extension points are. And so as Aditi was talking about content fragments, so why were we talking about content fragments is because this is the first area where we're layering in extension points, which then enable UI extensibility. So we currently have two areas of AEM. So we have the content fragment admin and the content fragment editor. For the editor, we have the extension points in a few locations. We have it in the header and the rich text editor. And we were able to support multiple buttons and functionality in a single extension. So you don't need an extension for each button. So a single extension can have multiple support. We support all React Spectrum buttons and icons. And then for the admin, we currently support the header menu, the action bar, and custom columns. And so Volodymyr is going to be showing some of this stuff in action. But we also support the same functionality as we do in the buttons of editor. So we're able to support the multiple button types and icons, etc. Before we get into some really cool demos, I'm going to hand it off to Karthik, who's going to talk a little bit about packaging and go-to-market and how we're able to get you App Builder. Karthik?
Thanks, Corey. So really powerful functionality. And as Corey mentioned, really it's the combination of AEM plus App Builder that really enables this UI extensibility. And so what we're excited to announce is that App Builder is included with Sites as a cloud service. So if you are a Sites Cloud Service customer, an existing customer, or you are a new customer, you now get one free unit of App Builder included with your entitlement. And this is as of April 12th, 2023. So this is great. One unit, what does that mean? This is kind of what it means from runtime capacity, custom events, file storage. This is all bundled in with AEM Sites. And really the benefit of this is that we want your developers to be able to quickly get started with these integrations, work on these types of extensibility models, and start to enable UI extensibility for headless scenarios. So you can really customize the solution in a way that fits your business requirements. But at the same time, App Builder has a plethora of additional use cases that you can start to explore and start to evaluate with this free unit. So something exciting, wanted to announce, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to this team and we can let you know, or reach out to your account team to learn how you can get access, especially if you're an existing customer.
Yeah, so definitely for existing customers, reach out to your sales team and they will they'll get it set up for you. So there's nothing you need to do other than contact the sales team and say, hey, I'm currently a CS customer and I'd love to use App Builder, and they will make that happen for you.
Exactly. And
All
back to
right.
you, Ron.
Okay, Corey. So I just real quick, I muted you for a second. It sounds like your audio is a little bumpy, like you might be bumping the mic or something. I'm not sure. I've narrowed it down to you, not to put you on the spot, but
I will. Is it sounding any better?
it sounds a little. Here, let's mute you for a quick second. Okay, go ahead. It's a little bumpy, but we'll mutter through.
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I'll get to my section and I'll try to modify it once.
All good. Okay, let's dive into use cases, man. This is why we're here. Like, how can we use this groovy technology?
Yeah, so super excited to share this with you. So Volodymyr has put together four demos to show. I'll actually showcase the last one, and he'll cover three of them for you. So the first one here is all about workflow automation. So I mentioned that pharmaceutical company at the beginning. Lots of companies need this concept of automating our workflows. It's a critical aspect of any organization. And really, the expectation is that a software application is flexible enough to support an organizational workflow, a custom workflow. So UI extensibility really shines in these use cases and really makes it easy for these custom workflows to be implemented into AEM. So as you can see from the quote here, one of our customers, Ogebe, is using UI extensibility for workflow automation. And to highlight the versatility of UI extensibility in AEM, we're going to showcase a custom workflow that the Adobe Creative Cloud marketing team implemented. And the problem the team encountered was in their workflow, they tended to publish content fragments that were translated into various languages at the same time. So they wanted a workflow that could efficiently publish these fragments of various languages. And so you'll see by utilizing UI extensibility, a developer was able to create an experience that allowed the business to quickly publish content fragments in multiple languages. So with that, I'll hand it over to Volodymyr to show this.
All right.
Yeah, sure. With my pleasure. Once we started to collaborate with a team who work with translation for Creative Cloud, they described their pain points and some manual steps that they would like to simplify and speed up. So, for example, their translation journey starts from the opening the content fragment in the editor, and finding the property which is called ready for localization and mark this content as ready for localization. So other team may pick up these content fragments and process to create the copies on different languages. And this process works for them just fine. What they don't like that they create in batches. So whenever they want to move forward with some new campaign or new topic, they need to actually open multiple content fragments and do this trivial operation one by one. So here we see the clear use case for UI extensibility and our workflow automation approach. So we implemented simple UI extensions that enable our content author to choose several content fragments, and with extension triggers the processing of this content fragment. So if I click here, set lock ready button, on background mode will process all the data changes, will trigger AEM API, REST API to do necessary changes. And now we have the notification about that data is updated. Just to verify, we can open those three content fragments. Open this old window and see that data indeed updated. So there is one step that we made for them. And as you can see, this trivial approach does not require any change, any UI or implementation, just ability to expose button and ability to implement some background interaction with AEM API. As Corey mentioned, that this is not the last part of managing translations and localization. So we implemented another one extension. We tried to keep the extension really granular, focus it on one problem at a time, so it's easy to maintain and update them and adapt to changing business requirements. So another one extension is allowed to choose content fragment and again invoke the functionality by triggering button in action bar, but this time we actually fetching data localization copies from the IAM and allow to at one click publish or unpublish multiple copies of those extensions of those content fragments. So with this being said, I'm thinking it's a good time to switch to actually explain what is going on, because so far we can see here multiple buttons. Some of them belong to extensions and some are core functionality like open, publish. That is functionality that comes with content fragment edit admin by default. So to make this everything happens, we actually leverage App Builder, and UI extension is actually basically standard App Build application. The only required part that we expect it has is some client-side script that integrated, connected to the host application, to the main application, and describe what features extension is implementing and when it should be triggered by the user. Additional to that, developer may implement some custom UI, like this example with translation management, or server-side API if there is necessary to make the server-to-server calls with third-party services or with other Adobe APIs, including AEM or any other multiple APIs that Adobe offer. This is App Builder application. Developer will need to interact with Developer Console to create the project associated with this extension, and as well use IO CLI tool to actually create and develop the extension. So once the extension is developed, it's transparently integrated in the main application into applications that host extensions. We use our service called extension registry to list and register all available extension for the IMS organization. And when we load the main application, we query this service to actually know what extension should be enabled for the organization, and users within that organization transparently can use functionality provided by extensions inside the application.
Volodymyr, just real quick. So if you were a partner working with a customer on something like this, they could build out this this UI extension in their IMS org, and then copy that extension to the customer's IMS org to then make that available to the customer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And what I like the most in this approach is actually that building such application is really trivial. So let's probably do one more application extension really quickly locally. So I switch to my IDE and just...
Hey, before you jump in here, so I noticed that you had like a drop down, you had like a button that was just a button, not in this, but it's fine. We don't need to go to a visual, but you had a button and then you had like a button with a drop down. So there's a variety of different types of controls. Like I think Corey, you had said, it supports all of the React buttons and such, right? So there's a lot of flexibility with this. Is there anything that it can't do? Like, is there something that we don't support yet that we're looking to support?
Well, we can
do that for later.
we can do a lot right now, and Adobe offers the powerful UI library called React Spectrum, and we leverage this library, providing it access to its components through the extensibility API, and as well allows to use this UI library inside the application. So this enable us to make this smooth and transparent and UI matching between Adobe owned and Adobe developed application and extensions that integrated inside the Adobe applications. And for sure, we just on the beginning of our road, so some components, some functionality is not available yet, but we actually open and listen to those use cases, those pain points of our customers, and whenever we need to bring to help solve problems, we'll be glad to do.
That's great. Okay, so I'll let you get back into the code, but I mean the message is basically anything that like if there's a customer that wants to do something that we don't have available yet, definitely reach out to us, and we'll work with you to make that happen.
Yes, exactly. We are looking for this feedback.
Yeah.
So let's begin. As extension is a builder application, our journey starts with IO CLI tool. We just need first of all initialize the application IO app init. I already have the pre-created project inside the developer console, so it's called TX Hello World for our purpose. I will now choose IMS organization, which I'm working now, and waiting while the API will process all the information. We'll choose created project from developer console, and now actually what we begin interacting and implement actually extension for your extensibility. So as we want create the extension, we'll need to we may pre-select the available templates, and templates in IO CLI with App Builder enables developer to speed up their development and pre-generate some code that is specific for most common use cases. And UI extensibility for IAM is one of those use cases. So we'll choose all extension points, and now we should retrieve the list of available templates. As we want to create the extension for content fragment admin, we'll create a dedicated template and proceed with code generation. Now we're fetching all the data from NPM, load the packages for the template, and actually should wait while all necessary packages will be delivered from the NPM server. Shouldn't take
so today we have editor and the content fragment editor and the admin tool. So there's potential in the future to have more templates as we make more surfaces available within AEM extendable, correct?
Yes, it is our plans as well. We may, if we'll see the more granular use cases, we may introduce some use case dedicated to some common problems that our developers try to solve.
Okay.
So now all the packages for templates is loaded. So we start interacting with template, and the first question, how we want to name our extension. So it will be Hello World by tradition from developers, and short description, simple UI extension. Yes, that is fine version. And here we start interacting and helping to navigate developers in what developers can do. So developer can just generate blank canvas for their work and implement all the source code by themselves. If they well aware of what is going on with extensibility, they as well can choose I don't know, which help find the links to the developers documentation and navigates through the capabilities that we have. But we already know what we want to do, so I will generate some simple extensions that will enable button and primitive UI. So I will choose header menu button here in option. We'll call it click me. And yes, I want to have some model dialog for it. With this, I will choose that I'm done. And after this, template will generate the source code of the extension and start to fetching all node dependencies. So while we're fetching npm dependencies, let's look what actually is generated. So I will increase this area. So as we can see, because we choose to create the extension, we have all the source located in AEM CF console admin. One means that is first version of APIs that we use. And here the main code is located in web source and components. We create this UI application by default as React application, but in fact, this is not necessary. So developer, if they don't like this tool and for some reason don't want to use React Spectrum, they can prefer any other tool. So the main file here is extension registration that actually declares capability of the extension and what it may do. Here we can see that we have header menu declarations and we return some buttons that have callbacks that may be triggered. So let's leave this code alone. I believe for all the developers who know the JavaScript mostly and maybe just a little bit tracked, it will be easy to figure out what is going on. And now we have the question how we actually, after generating the code, can verify that it is working and do development in some more interactive way. And App Builder provides a great possibility for it. We can run everything locally or inside the stage or developer workspaces that are offered by Adobe infrastructure. So I will run extension locally just by io app run. It will start application, provide some URL, which actually on its own does not make anything useful. It just loads a HTML, pre-generated HTML that's ready to interact with host application. One trick here is that for local development, certificates is self-signed, so developer might need to accept the self-signed certificate to proceed further. I will copy this URL where our extension is hosted, and we'll back to our content fragment model. Here I will add a couple parameters. The mode which turn our application to developer mode. True, and we'll say that in developer mode I want to use one more extension on this localhost port, and we'll load the application. Well, we see that we have now one more button, click me, and on clicking on this button, we open the model that displays something. So from this moment, we can switch back to our developer tool and step by step implement what we want to implement, have all the abilities to interact and troubleshoot our extension locally with debugging, logging, etc. So
that is very cool, Volodymyr. Sorry. So do you have to then deploy that kind of like you would normally an app builder application, like deploy to production, and how does it become part of that IMS org for all the AEM authors to use?
Yes, that's a good question. So once the extension is developed and developers sure that it works perfectly fine, developer can use standard approach of App Builder and deploy this to stage workspace and later to production workspace. Once the extension is deployed to production workspace, developer or staging workspace, developer will get the URL, not the local environment, and but to Adobe URL in Adobe infrastructure. And starting from this point, the developer can just use the same approach with additional query parameter to start sharing the link for other people in his organization, her organization, to get the access to preview of these extensions. Once everything is settled and organization is happy with the extension, there will be left final step to make it available for all people across the organization. Developer will need to deploy this to production environment, and from developer console, initiate publication flow of the extension, so request publication. Once the developer requested publication of the extension, system administrator of the organization will see the list of extensions or app builder applications that is pending his approval inside the exchange adobe.com. They can review the extensions and approve them, and system administrator can see the list of all available approved extensions and other app builder applications again in exchange. Once the extension is approved, everybody inside the organization can use it.
Very cool.
Cool. So, Corey, do we have some other use cases that we want to highlight for content fragment?
Yeah, so let's talk about the next use case here. So this is about information from other systems. So we know many of us work with multiple systems, and it's imperative that these systems work together and data can be viewed across them. So we don't want our data siloed across all of our different systems. So it's a problem for business users if this data is siloed, as it hinders them from making decisions. So in this example, we'll see how UI extensibility allows you to easily add different views in the content fragment admin console. So all the data needed by the business is in one location. Volodymyr, take it away.
Yeah, so actually, there's one more extension point that we have inside the content fragment admin, and this is ability to add the custom columns to the main grids that we have to list extensions. Here, we actually already have this extensions installed, and this is demonstration of how we can integrate and bring data from some other services, from Adobe Analytics or any other systems that may track, for example, impressions of the content fragments, of how many particular content fragments was displayed to customers. And this can be done again with trivial, simple code that declare how to fetch the data from the third-party system, and then make the mapping from the format of the third-party system to the format of the column of the content fragment admin. So here is the implementation of this code, and just to make the visibility for our documentation, let's open our developer documentation and see how it may be implemented. So we have UI extensibility homepage in Adobe Developers documentation, and pages dedicated to different services. And here we have the grid column example, which actually describes how much code we need to insert in pre-generated application that adds a custom column. So actually, that's all the code that is prescribed by extensibility. All other code it's really depends on the complexity, how we want to interact with third-party system or any other source of data that we want to display. Corey, looks cool?
Looks very good. Thank you. So the next one that we wanted to talk about is dynamic content. So this is one of my favorite examples. So content is not static, and content authors need the ability to dynamically inject content from other systems, such as user information, geography, the name, reference past purchase history, the list goes on and on. And so, unfortunately, this type of dynamic content requires a lot of communication between multiple stakeholders, including backend developers, front-end developers, third-party developers, and content authors. So this complex communication loop invariably leads to human mistakes and a poor experience, not only for internal users, but ultimately our end customer. So with UI extensibility widgets, we simplify and minimize the communication needed between developers and content authors, and therefore decrease the chance of these mistakes. So in this case that Volodymyr is going to show is we want to add a dynamic geography variable that will pull from the computer's IP address so that we can personalize a content fragment based on the user's geography. The intent is that the message will increase engagement with the site and make for a better experience for the user, and ultimately, hopefully, increase conversion or transactions for our customer. So let's see it in action.
Yeah, and let me first introduce our testing or demo stand. So as you probably will know, AEM has a multiple reincarnation of weekend site, the demo site that we show how we can bring content and work with content, and what is the best practices to for companies to bring their content to their customers. Weekend React application is a front-end application that is interact with AEM through the GraphQL to fetch the data and have all the client-side rendering. I have now local running this application, and it's really great and demonstrate great abilities. One limitation that may be straightforward visible is that it provides a static content, and it's not easy to to address particular customers of the company. So we decided to make some small modifications to this application that will bring dynamic content and personalization to this website, to this React application, and as well improve the experience of the authors who work on such content. So let me back to the content fragment admin and switch to the content of the this sample application. So this application is implemented that it has multiple elements on it, and all the content from those elements, including images, text messages, managed through the AEM and fetched into application through the GraphQL API. So we have here text items, and we have content fragment mount biking. So it's actually no, not this. Wait a minute. Text items. Okay, probably something is changed on the fly. Yeah, so
live demos, ladies and gentlemen, live demos. This is what we got.
Live demo. So let's fix this. I'm just take the content from the live side, so just to bring it back to the initial state. And here we have just your next generation, and just that's as well related to be clear formatting. Okay, so we have the text here, and if we will go to the site and update it, we actually see that it's delivered as what we want to have. But this is a little bit boring. It's not called to the users. What we want to do with Dynamics, it's actually add some personalization based on the location of the user. So we will add some message like here, board in, and we want to know place of the user. So we actually now interacting with extensibility mechanism. Once I type it curly bracket, it shows a widget extension point. So widget allows to trigger, bring more custom application interaction with user to source the data into each text editor that requires interaction with customer with the content after. So here we have the just simple drop down list that actually show from where we can take what content related to geolocation we can use. So we will just use region and see the description of it and just click apply. So once we click at apply, we see that we use another extension point, which we call it pages, that makes one piece of content non-edible. So we just treat this as one of the piece of the content that may be added or removed at once. And this as well solves the problems that content after face it with those dynamic variables that they want to place in content, is actually that they made unintentionally to delete something inside or change some symbol, and this actually leads to broken sites. With these extension points, we ensure that this content is working fine. So we ensure that everything is saved, and back to the application, refresh the page, and see that with a little bit luck, the content is actually, the placeholder is updated. Once we have the everything cached, we see that it's worked without glitches. So with this example, we see that extension not only serves a builder application, serves not only improvement of experience of authors who now have the clear way to and straightforward way how to explore what variables placeholders available for them, and as well this extension serves as an API, as a source of data for those values, so developers can encapsulate in one place the knowledge about how to use variables and what placeholders is available and how to make them available for authors. And developers in general love to encapsulate things. So as for me, this is a really nice example.
Yeah, definitely.
Corey?
Yeah, back to you, Corey.
Yeah, we have one more demo here to share. And I am going to share just showing how versatile and flexible and really how complex some of these UI extensions can get. And so what we have here is we added an additional button to the RTE. And this RTE button, when we click on it, is going to open up Adobe Sensei GenAI functionality. And so this button opens up this modal. And once we have this modal open, we can really do whatever we want to do here. And so you can see a relatively complex UI that we built out, again, using all of UI extensibility, React Spectrum components here. And so once we have this content selected, we have multiple actions that we can apply to this content. If we want to rewrite this in an analytical or engaging way, we could go ahead and do that. We are going to call Adobe Sensei GenAI with a prompt and the original text and come back with a response. And we can kind of keep on modifying this until we see something that we like and apply that content back into that content fragment. So Again, this is all done with UI extensibility. This is how it's implemented, and it's been a great experience. GenAI is the buzzword of the year, maybe the decade. That's TBD yet, but you can start using all of these third-party services with UI extensibility.
All right, that is very cool, Corey. Thank you for that sneak peek on what's coming soon. Hey, do we want to talk about what's coming next, just in general for UI extensibility?
Yeah, let's do it, Ron.
Okay, go ahead and take us here, and then we've got some questions we'll take before we close.
Yeah, so real quick, I'm not going to go through everything on this slide, but we have a full roadmap in front of us for UI extensibility. These are just a few things that are currently in progress that we plan on releasing in the very near future. But the overall message here is that the functionality is expanding throughout the content fragment field types. We're going to be allowing complex data modifications from third-party services, even more so than what we do today. We're going to add the ability to modify fields based on user and extension changes. And then lastly, just an easy way to manage with no code these extensions to make it easier for not only for developers, but also for our business users.
That will be
a peek.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic. You've got a great roadmap.
Thanks.
Look forward to seeing that come to fruition. Okay, so these are resources you can click on, or sorry, you can not click on them, but you can pause the video here, take a screenshot with your phone or what have you to get these links. So we've got a couple of questions here. I'll throw it up here. And Onion is the demo for the weekend app with the content fragments public. Volodymyr, is that something that they can access?
Well, yes, weekend application itself is public. It's available at Adobe public GitHub account. Yet we not delivered those changes with dynamic values that we demonstrated. It's really just 10 lines of code of handling those placeholders. But we'll do this, I believe, pretty shortly.
Okay, so that'll be available in the future. That we'll make that available on either the UIX docs page or Experience League for folks to download that modification. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We have another one, Volodymyr. So if the page is cached, the location.region will be the same for all users. And if we don't cache it, there will always be a flicker to update the dynamic variable with the actual value. Can you address that?
Yeah, so this is issue with all the front-end applications and the same relevant with GraphQL queries, etc. So here we just use this application as a approach just to make the simplest possible demo and make it as well useful, but overall in real life application, for sure, developers will need to ensure that there is some kind of default values in case of we cannot deliver the values, or making some visual elements to the loading process to make this blurred elements while we fetch the dynamic contents, etc., etc. But overall, this workflow show how to actually deliver content, and then for this content as well fetch the data. And if you have some pre-rendering, it might be as well maybe some values dedicated to based on the customer segments, not for particular person. So it may be done in other stages of processing content, like maybe it's some server-side rendering before the final page is assembled, etc. So we give the full freedom here for front-end developers to choose what they want to do.
Okay, and then Volodymyr, you are the man of the moment, and then we've got one more left after this, and then we'll close. But go ahead. So, can an app builder app have a backend? So, if so, would it be a standalone app that interacts with AEM through HTTP APIs, or a bundle in the OSGI container?
Yes, it's actually expected that in many cases, app builder application will have backend, which is in case of app builder will be runtime functions, serverless functions that may interact with server-to-server calls with any third-party system. And we actually recommend to create those backend functions, backend part of the app builder application in case where developers will need to configure some secrets, for example, API keys for third-party system to not leak them to the front end.
All right. Okay, and then last question, Eric asks, can Sensei GenAI be used to generate content in regular site components and experience fragments?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So right now, GenAI functionality is in content fragments, universal editor, and in our Franklin or next gen composable services. We are exploring adding that into experience fragments, but the ultimate end vision of that is that Adobe Sensei GenAI Copilot can be used throughout AEM, and so wherever you're authoring experiences, that Copilot will be able to assist you.
Right on. And that is our show for today. Thank you. We're a little bit over, like a minute or two, but thank you guys, and thanks to all the presenters for joining me on this show today. And yeah, have a fantastic Thursday, and we'll have a new show in a couple of weeks. Look for an invite coming soon. Okay, see you guys.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.